All right, everybody, it is 3 o'clock my time. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for carving out some time to join me this afternoon. I'm pretty excited about being able to kick off our first session of the month. I really like getting in here if I can for the first session just to connect with folks, especially my students, kind of put a voice and a face together, if you will. So I definitely want to thank you for carving some time out. I know we had a couple questions right off the bat about the time frame. Um, I usually mention it a little bit later, but since we had some questions, yes, the session is about 2 hours. You'll find they're about 2 hours every week, but we do record it. So if you happen to have to pop in here a little bit later, or you have to dip out a little bit early, as I know some folks might try to listen while they're at work or in between stuff at home, have no fear. We do record each week, and your instructor will either post within FSO or email out the archive to you all. And usually we try to get those out by Thursday, so um, that way you have it. And Rick, you are probably not in the wrong class. I'm not sure if you guys have had the chance to take a look at the overview video. We have a team of PYP instructors, and we rotate every week. So this week I will be your host, and depending who your instructor is, they might be in one of the upcoming weeks. So I definitely don't want you to dip out thinking you're in the wrong place. You're probably in the right place because you had the link. All right. So let me give you guys a photo so you have a voice and a name that goes together. So my name is Katie Bonaphilia, and some of you might be in my sections. Again, some of you might have other PYP instructors. That is okay. We rotate the teaching every single week. Hey, Joseph. Hey, guys. I'm glad to see so many of you out there. So there I am. That's me. My name is Katie Bonaphilia, and I'm another psychology of play instructor here at Full Sail. Again, that overview video kind of gives you some faces of all of your PYP instructors, and we like to rotate out. That way we're all getting in here to GTT. It gives us an opportunity to network between different sections and have our students be able to network with each other even outside of our section. So that's why we kind of take that group approach. We give you guys a group option in weeks 2 and 3, and so that's why we like to have the group approach as well. It is Bonaphilia. Bonaphilia is the last name. Yes, Don. Um, Outside of teaching psychology of play, I also facilitate anger management workshops here on campus, and I also teach interpersonal communications, and I used to teach media and society as well. So those are some classes that maybe you guys have heard of. Um, so anyways, I've something I always like to throw out. I've been with Full Sail for about 4 years now. Absolutely love it. A lot of the same reasons you guys came here. No problem, Don. Glad to help with my last name. Sometimes it can be a little hard to pronounce, so I completely understand. So again, it's a pleasure. I welcome you all. I always totally appreciate students carving out a time from their busy schedules to get in here with us. Here's some fun pictures I threw together for you guys. Some of you in my sections, you may have seen some of these, but again, we like to have fun. We dress up at Halloween. Here's some pictures of myself and my family. I'm big into being outside, live here in Florida, can't help but love the outdoors, kayaking, canoeing. If you ever have a chance to visit or any Florida natives, something that's kind of a novelty is being able to go and swim with manatees. So that's myself and my niece in the upper right hand corner, and we are swimming with manatees. So anyways, lots of fun stuff. Just a quick refresher, you probably used your GTT control panel in digital literacy last month, but I always like to put it up here since it's our first session. I'm big into raising your hand if you have questions, throwing them out in the chat box. If I don't see it right away, please don't feel like I am ignoring you. It's just that I'm trying to go back and forth between the material and what we need to get through, but I always make time to stick around at the end in case I missed anyone's questions. And I also like to take some time to do like a Q&A in regards to what you have due this week as well. So hopefully that will answer some questions too. Um, So I will stick around. We'll go over your platform on FSO as we're all getting used to FSO 3.0. This is our second month of it together, instructors as well. And I'll also go over your assignments and some different resources too. So anyways, you have your chat box and raising your hand. So those are just some functions as a reminder. And I'm going to go ahead and pop back over here. So just bear with me to the chat box. Anyone listening to the archive, you might hear me read things from the chat box because when you're watching the archive, you only see my slides. You do not have access to read anything in the chat box. So that might be why you hear me repeating things from the chat box. It's just so anyone watching the archive can have that audio component. All right, I had a couple hands that might have been raised on accident. I'm not quite sure. We were just going over the intro and the GTT. So I went ahead and raised everybody, put everyone's hands down. But Gloria, I see you have your hand up again. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute you in case you had a question before we get started with the material. Gloria, can you hear me? Gloria, have you unmuted? You're good, no questions. All right, I'm going to go ahead and mute you back. And I'm going to go ahead and lower your hand as well. All right, so our objectives for today, as far as Module 1 is concerned, is we're going to go over an intro to play as well as play history and personality. I always like to throw out that we might not cover everything that's outlined in your reading, your PYP playbook, so make sure that you're also reading that material as well. I'll try to go over most of it here, but definitely just consider this as supplemental. I want you guys to still refer to your playbook reading, of course. So today we're going to identify the importance of play. We are also going to discuss the definition of play. We're going to compare what constitutes as play. We're also going to review play history and patterns of play, and we're going to go over those play personalities for some of you that might have already dived into your reading. I do want to highlight some of the benefits of play, and then in conclusion, I want to go over some ways to jump sort of back on that play bandwagon, excuse me, if you've retired like that sense of playfulness. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about where, play might have gotten lost along the way and so forth. All right, so let's start out by talking about play. So to be honest, I want you guys to be completely honest. It's okay. Safe place here. When you guys saw Psychology of Play on your schedules, what were your initial thoughts when you saw Psychology of Play was your class? Okay, Don said positive. Joseph said being on stage. Anthony thought his initial thought was yay. And let's see. Oh my gosh, you guys are scrolling. I can't keep up. I love it. Had no idea what to expect. That's honesty. That it's going to be interesting. Just going to read about plays. We're definitely not just going to read about plays. Was hoping it had something to do with music, something to do with designing games. Wasn't sure, but was excited about it. Had no clue. That's absolutely fine. That's honesty. Fun. No expectations, perhaps geared more towards games. Glad it's a little bit more than that. The thing that I really like about it is that everything that you guys are saying, even if our concepts, they're going to highlight on games. It's not going to all be about games. The thing that I really like about the class is we deliver the content and the research to you guys, but we really try to incorporate fun by letting you guys have assignment options. I'm not sure if you dipped into that. We'll get into that a little bit more towards the end, but every week we try to give you guys assignment options. And so if you're really into music and you're really into gaming, if you're really into drawing, storytelling, etc., whatever your passion is, then we really want you to incorporate that into your projects. And something that I always like to tell my students is when you're working on your projects, don't just do the project for the sake of the class. Incorporate your passions and think about it in regards to adding to your portfolio. Okay. You really have an opportunity to build your portfolios throughout your program. And so that's something that I always really try to highlight. So, depending what your passions are, we give you the flexibility to deliver your option for your assignment. We give you two options, you choose one, and yeah, you relate to the content and the material and the concepts, but we want you to deliver it in how you see fit. And we really try to incorporate that flexibility. So, I'm pretty excited about that. So, hopefully, you guys are too, because whether it's singing, gaming, drawing, etc., there is an avenue for you to really make your projects your own. So I know that when I was first told, I used to teach behavioral science, and when I was told that I would be teaching about play, I was like, well, that sounds pretty awesome. But I was also wondering, exactly like you guys, what is it going to be about? So as soon as I started diving into the research, I started to get even more excited because I love teaching psychology. But this subject is just, I have so much passion for it because it relates to different industries and how we can incorporate play both personally and professionally. And of course, the definition of play might have changed for us a little bit in what we think of as fun from childhood to adulthood. But, it really brings to light the importance of connecting to positive psychology and happiness and where happiness gets us and so forth. So, anyways, I love this stuff, but some of you may have been thinking, why do we need to learn about this? So, I'm hopeful that any questions might be answered after we do our overview at the end of our session today. So, I'd like to ask you guys, so what brought you initially to Full Sail? If you could throw it out in the chat box, what brought you to Full Sail? What was attractive about Full Sail and coming here? Because you could have chose any other place to go and pursue your education, but what about Full Sail? Andrew said the networking. Okay. More of a modern teaching structure, curriculum for your degree, the game program, reputation, um, tired of a dead end job, wanted to go somewhere to benefit, the technology, online program. I see someone put just signed up, accredited degree in the field that you love, music production, graphic design. Um, I'm loving all of these answers that I'm seeing. Focus on entertainment, better job. I love all of it. So, my hope is that you all have this in common, that you are all here essentially because you're following a creative passion, at the end of the day. So, you don't want work to feel like work. You want it to be something you jump out of bed excited to do every day. So, all of your answers already tell me that you guys are players at heart. So, you're looking for something more, and that's exactly why you're here. However, maybe there is a thought, like, let me get through this class so I can get to the real reason I'm going to Full Sail. Sometimes I hear that a lot. Get to those core program classes you're so excited about. And thank you, Sean. Yeah, that's honesty. And I completely understand that. And, I'm hopeful that this month, come the end of the month, I'm hopeful that you've really made even more of a connection to your industry, but you really take away some of the skills and tools that you've learned, whatever that is, on whatever level, and you can start to apply it in your classes that are coming up as well as within your field. So that's really my hope, for you. All right, so adults equal serious. You might be thinking, Katie, college is serious, Full Sail's big on professionalism, hence we have GPS, right? That counts for 10%. We can't be playing around. Yeah, there's definitely some truth in college being serious. Of course, we have to have deadlines, we have to have grades, we have to do certain things for accreditation and for those purposes. But, take a minute to think about a person in your life that is really all work and no play. So think about a person that is all work and no play. And I want you to really think about that. Is that what you're striving for? All work and no play? If we really think about that person and how they looked, were they happy? Were they more on maybe the depressed side? Is that something that we really want to strive for? So We're often told you have to go to school, you have to get a good job, and you have to work to support your family. There's no time for play. That's just for kids. We are adults. So, anyways, just something that I want you guys to think about as far as the messages that you've received about being a serious adult. So I want you to think about some of the messages that that were relayed to you as a child, and even now about, having fun and being playful and so forth. So I want to head over to our material section and I want to watch our first clip, and it's the elevator clip. And there might be an ad. I apologize for any ads at the beginning of the videos. But go ahead and watch the elevator clip. And when you come back, just type in the chat box done, and that way I'll know you're ready to move on. All right, so all of those people were looking pretty bored, like just another day at the office, and then taking the time to dance, sing for a minute on the elevator, definitely might have changed their whole day. I wish I could ride the elevator and, and do that here. We don't have an elevator where I'm at, but it looks pretty cool to me. So when they get into the office, maybe they're smiling, maybe it could help lift them up for the day, change their attitude about work. So definitely just something fun. Daniela, I'll try to go ahead and throw in the chat box the links for you. So hopefully you can go ahead and click on them since you are tuning in from your phone. So if not, the archive will be posted by tomorrow, and then that way you could go ahead and watch the archive and use the links at that point in time if for some reason they're not working for you. So, the best part about play is that play brings joy. So, if you don't have joy in your life, you don't have excitement. So, you're just perhaps going through a mundane routine, maybe not feeling very positive, may just feel sort of the weight of all your responsibilities that you have as an adult on your shoulders. So, now we know play brings joy. So, I want you guys to kind of throw out in the chat box what happens when you feel joy. What happens? How does it make you feel? Get louder, more elated, the endorphins increase, sometimes feeling relaxed or excited, um, increased creativity, feeling relaxed. Definitely, hopefully, you're smiling, feeling hopeful, maybe a sense of calmness. So, research shows that our need for play does not go away when we grow up. So, sometimes we have jobs that we work sort of just to earn a paycheck. I'm sure we've all pretty much experienced that. We've worked to earn that paycheck at some point or another. And maybe we weren't as passionate about what we were doing at that point in time, but it was just what we needed to do at that point. I'm seeing a lot of yeses in the chat box for that. But think about your favorite job that you had. Maybe, while you were growing up, maybe it's something you did, while you were in high school, or maybe, even now. Think of a job, a favorite job that you had where you had a lot of fun, for instance, at that job. So I know for me, I can really say that outside of working at Full Sail, which is really fun, things change as you guys know every day. We have a really specific culture here at Full Sail. A fun job that I had growing up that sticks out to me is working at a video store. And I might be aging myself here a bit, but it was when VHS was transitioning to DVDs. Again, I might be dating myself. Don't no judgment here, but it was something that was really, really fun for me. I was, really into movies at that point, and I mean, it was just the best job since sliced bread for me. I had so much fun. Um, so let me pop back over to the chat box. I want to see what some of your favorite jobs were. Someone said they worked at Borders Bookstore. They worked at a theme park. You've worked at a bar as a bartender, cooking at an elementary school. Oh, I see, working at a Blockbuster. Awesome. GameStop, State Fair, store manager, farmers market booth, selling TVs, magician, Thai restaurant. So yeah, so a lot of different things. And maybe if you haven't, worked or something fun doesn't stick out in your mind, think about things that you enjoy doing, perhaps around the house. Like we can all think of chores maybe that I know for me, I really hate washing dishes. It's definitely not something that I have a lot of fun doing, but I don't mind doing other chores for some reason, like vacuuming. But maybe it's because I can dance around while I vacuum, whereas dancing in place isn't as much fun. So, but anyways, you can think of something that really brings you joy as far as being, task oriented. So, playing around at work or whatever you're doing is often, it can be looked down upon at times. But I want to ask you guys, how was being playful at that job or whatever you were working on, how did that benefit you in any way? Did it elevate your mood? Did it make you more calm, relaxed? Some of the answers that you guys were throwing out there in the chat box before, did it bring any of those feelings about to you? So I'm seeing restored my mind and spirit, made me happy, got to do funny voices and make kids laugh and make their parents spend money. Looked forward to work. That's an important one. Yeah, forgetting about problems sometimes at home. Yeah, it helps us escape for even that moment and can help us change our mindset. Great answers, you guys. So, as we were just saying, play is often, can be looked down upon, at work, but who really wants to work with someone who's miserable? Again, going back to that sort of all work, no play person that I was talking about, and someone said their mom, and they threw out, former supervisors and so forth in the chat box. You know, maybe there's something really about life that they're, disliking at that point in time, or maybe the person that you saw was negative a lot of the time, or sometimes maybe having that tunnel vision, so to speak, like I'm trying to climb to the top of the corporate ladder, but what happens when I get to the top, and what did I enjoy about the process along the way? So those are questions that I want to pose to you guys. So sometimes what happens is someone that's all work and no play focused. They can't see new and exciting ideas, or they really don't like change because maybe that means more work to them. So sometimes what's found is people who play can see things completely different. As we've learned, play can bring joy, which can lower our stress, make us more productive, even. So you may think, I can't play, I have to work. However, if you stop to take a break, to actually play, it might make your work much easier for you, more enjoyable for you. Um, and that's why we have to play. All right, I just want to pop back over to the chat box. Um, No reason why you can't enjoy your job. Trying to incorporate fun at work, Michael, definitely. And we're going to talk more about that. Even activities that maybe we don't find the most fun at home. How can we incorporate play into that? Is it turning on some music? Is it dancing around? Is it making it into a game for those of you that love gaming? Is there ways to turn things into a game? So anyways, just some ideas. So, play can actually make you have less stress, be more productive, definitely more fun to be around, and then come up with creative ideas. So, all of a sudden, you may have ideas to solve a problem that you may have never seen before, and your relationships are going to be better as a result of it. So, all of these things are definitely going to help you be successful in your industry. And all of us want to make sure that we are embracing that creativity standpoint, as I'm sure, because that's fun to us. That, like we talked about before, that's what brought you, to Full Sail, the difference in pursuing, your program leading into your industry. No problem with popping in here late. We're recording the archive, so anything that you've missed thus far, we'll have those recordings out to you by tomorrow, just for anyone that's popping in. So right now, what we're going to do is I want you guys to head over to your materials section again, but this time let's watch the toy snake math video clip, and then when you're done, we'll do the same thing. We will go ahead and write done in, or something to that effect, in the chat box, and that way we will move on. And Daniela, let me grab that link for you and put it in the chat box. All right. So I see most of you are finishing up. Um, Megan, maybe try it in your browser later, and thanks so much for getting it via Skype. So hopefully that works. But if anything, you please feel free to try it again later, and just keep us posted on what's working and maybe what's not. So I think that this clip is a good example of how playing as an adult can lead to great ideas, perhaps maybe some thinking outside the box, problem solving, and other things. So this class is about boosting you above the competition. So pretty creative idea, that we want to boost you guys above the competition when as it relates to your industry. Teach, a different way of thinking, and then that way hopefully that different way of thinking carries with you out into your industry. So hopefully this gives you guys an edge, and to answer some of the questions, that were going on in the chat box. Yeah, you're definitely fulfilling your gen ed requirement for psychology. That, of course, overlaps into our accreditation as a university and so forth. But we really want to try to deliver it in the most creative way that we can, and have you guys walk away with some different tools and skill sets. All right, so before we get into how we define play, I want to take us back to the beginning. We probably all associate play with children, and this will help us learn more about play by looking into our first experiences with it. Um, so go ahead and type in the chat box what you really enjoyed playing as a child, something that stuck out to you. And this will relate to your week one discussion board that's due this evening. So I'm seeing pirates and adventure books, drawing Barbie dolls, Duck Duck Goose, Jailbreak, Freeze Tag, Star Wars, Barbies, Legos, video games, Marco Polo in the pool, football, PlayStation. So a lot of different answers, right? Um, so I want to unmute three people at the same time, and I want you guys to compare fun, creative, problem solving, and how it can be helpful as an adult. So think about all of the things that you learned playing that activity, whether it was social, if it was voluntary, if it we're going to go over, more of that. I know some folks in my class have already jumped on board with the discussion, but I want you guys to think about that activity and what brought you joy, and I want you to compare fun, creativity, problem solving, and how it can be helpful as an adult. So, what I want to do is go over and take a look at maybe some hands that are raised for anyone that wants to jump on the mic, and unmute the three of you at one time. Um, does anyone want to raise their hand and hop on the mic and tell us a little bit about their activity and chat about it with a couple other folks? Oh, thanks, Joseph. Yeah, if it's really loud in the background, we might not be able to hear you as clear as we would like. Okay, I hear you, Brian. Thanks. Same for you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go down the list and unmute some of you. Just going to go in order of how they're appearing for me on my side as they popped up, okay? So, Andrew, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Andrew, can you hear me?
Yeah, I
Andrew?
can. Can you hear me?
Okay, perfect. We can hear you. Just hold on one second. I'm going to go ahead and unmute Gloria. Gloria, can you hear us? Are you there, Gloria?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay,
Yep, I'm
perfect.
here.
All right. And next in line was Joe. I'm going to go ahead and unmute Joe. Can you hear us, Joe? Okay,
Yes, can you hear me?
perfect. Hi there.
Hello?
So I have Andrew, Gloria, and Joe unmuted, and I am all about having a fourth on here. Even though I said three, I'm going to go ahead and unmute Michael. Michael, are you there?
Hear me?
Yes. All right. So, guys,
All
So
right.
everybody, you're all unmuted together. So, but I have faith that it will all work out and not get too crazy. So why don't you guys talk to us about what your favorite activity was first, and then we'll jump into comparing like the fun aspect and the creative portion, and we can talk a little bit about how it maybe helped you with problem solving as an adult.
You mean like what we did when we were little?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So what's your
Okay,
favorite activities that stuck out when I asked you guys that question?
well, this is Gloria. I was the only child until I was 4, so my favorite thing to do was really put together puzzles, and I didn't do them like everybody else, starting with the outside. I tried to like start in the middle and then build out, and then I wouldn't look at the picture on the box. I would try to create the picture in my mind and then recreate it with the puzzle pieces. So my mom said that was
Okay.
weird.
Because you like to do puzzles.
Well, because
Okay.
I didn't want to look at the picture. I wanted to figure it out
Right.
without, most of the time you refer back to the picture, and I didn't like doing that.
Right, right. You like the challenge in it. That's what I see. But anyways, I'll pipe out for now. So what about the rest of you?
This is Joe. I was really into Legos when I was a little kid. Just the limited possibilities where everything was limitless as far as what you could build. If you have the blocks to do it, you can put it together and make whatever your imagination desires.
Hmm. Okay. Andrew or Michael?
Um, this is Michael. When I was little, I'm actually hearing impaired, so
Hmm.
I had a lot of difficulties, doing stuff with other kids. But what helped me out a lot was actually playing RPG games because they really helped me learn how to read, which translated to me talking. So I tended to like games that had a lot of text-based reading parts to it.
Okay.
That's
Awesome.
awesome.
Yeah.
It
Andrew?
is.
Well, for me, when I was little, I went outside a lot. Like I was an outside person as a child, so I used to go outside with my cousins or my friends, and I used to play hide and seek or do like play like imaginary like fighting scenes, like reenact stuff that I saw on TV, and like go outside and reenact being a superhero and stuff like that. Just simple things like that. I was more of an outside kid than inside. But as I got older, is when I started getting more to like video games and stuff. So
Okay, cool. So, if you guys wouldn't mind, talk to us a little bit about how you feel your activity helped maybe with problem solving as you started to, grow into adulthood.
I can
uh,
start.
Okay.
Um, I noticed that doing this stuff it tended to make me focus less on like the short-term goals, and it started making me think more long-term down the road, especially when you're playing, a game where you kind of have to stock up in between, towns. So
Mm-hmm.
you tended to have to think a little bit bigger than you used to. So I found that helpful when I went to school and even here with college, where I kind of plan out my week with all the classes and assignments.
That's awesome. That's a great example. Anybody
For me,
else? Yeah.
with Lego, if you didn't have the right piece, you could always put two of the smaller pieces or four of the smaller pieces together to make that piece. So you had to kind of think out of the box and imagine, well, if I don't have this, how can I make that piece?
Mm-hmm. Trying to make something work. Sure.
Yeah,
well, for me, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, no, I was gonna say for me, it's helped me. uh, I, among my family and friends, I'm known as the problem solver because I can look at different angles of. I can actually kind of envision myself being that person and the other person, and kind of stuff up outside of myself and look at it from their perspectives, and then make a decision or try to give some guidance or something. And I think doing puzzles outside of the box, excuse the pun, really
Mm-hmm.
did help me with that.
Well, for me, I don't really know how I would put me playing outside as like anyway it helped me as in my adult life, other than like when it comes to music, because uh, my major is music production. As
Mm-hmm.
far as like me going outside and being imaginary and stuff like that, I mean, when it comes to music, that's all you have is your imagine, your like imagining like how you can do something within the music, making it sound like this, making it do what you want it to do. like music, when you're creating music, you're creating it based off your feelings, how you want it to sound.
Hmm.
So you have to imagine how you want it to sound, and you have to put what you have in your head into your music.
Hmm. I think
That's
the
the only way I can
examples.
really tie it in.
Yeah, I think actually, like, all four of you, those are perfect examples that are completely on point. As far as imagination and creativity, is involved, and bringing in like problem solving, the way that you think creatively. I think those are definitely great examples. All right, thanks for hopping on the mic, you guys. I'm going to go ahead and mute you all back now, and then that way we can go ahead and move on. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
No problem.
So for this class, sometimes students can get stuck and not know what to do for their assignments, especially since we have that creative component in the challenge projects each week. So I hope by thinking about what you played as a child and how creative you were and how creative and imaginative you are today, that might help the assignments go a little bit easier for you in this course. I know in my sections, I really try to encourage my students, depending what they're passionate about, again, whether it's writing, having that storytelling type of personality, I really try to encourage them to highlight that, and then that way they can go ahead and build their project based off of what really speaks to them. And again, we give you those options to present it in any format that you see fit, so we really try to bring that flexibility. All right, so benefits of play. So, research shows that there are many benefits of play when it comes to learning. So, play not just reduces stress and makes children more socially competent, which evidence suggests that it does, it matters also because play supposedly improves working memory and self regulation. In other words, it makes kids sharper and better behaved, if you will. So, ironically, by shortchanging them on play in favor of academics, we may actually be inhibiting their development. Something that always comes to mind is I know a lot of school systems have, removed recess and other sort of unstructured playtime or unstructured activities. I think of gym class. Sometimes that did have structure, but I know when I was growing up, there was a lot of, unstructured playtime in gym class as well, because the point was to get you moving. So ideally, the message is that the emphasis on standardized testing, on attempting to constantly monitor or measure and quantify what students learn, has forced teachers to spend more of the school day engaged in so-called direct instruction, and has substantially reduced or limited opportunities that children have for exploring and interacting and learning on their own. So, like I was saying before, recess in many districts has vanished from the schedule entirely. And after school, sometimes parents find themselves shuttling their kids from activity to activity, and that can be depriving children of that unstructured time alone or with friends. So, some argue that play continues to be dismissed from the classroom, and many people remain skeptical at just how influential it can be. Some of you, of course, may have kids, and remember yourselves being in school as a child. And so I would ask you if you feel that your schools support or supported and valued play. I know for me growing up that it did. I had, like I said, a lot of unstructured time. Even though we might have had music class and art class, we still had unstructured time to where we perhaps weren't learning something specific. We were just allowed to do whatever we felt at that point. So, anyways, just something to think about. All right. So, thinking about it today, right here and now, as an adult, what is your idea of play? Maybe throw out some quick responses in the chat box, and I'll read from the chat box. So, right here and now, as an adult, what is your idea of play? What is fun for you? So I'm seeing playing video games, concerts, cards, writing, online gaming, hanging out with friends, more gaming, video games, hanging out with friends, gaming, drawing, playing with my kids, cooking, spades, reading. So a lot of things I'm seeing flowing here in the chat box. So some of you may have an easy time thinking about how you play today. On the other hand, some of you might play every day and know how important it is. This might not be new information for you. Maybe you're the type of person that carves playtime out, every single day for yourself. So maybe you've always done it, and then at the same time, maybe you haven't realized how beneficial it actually is for you. But at the same time, you are already one step ahead of the game. So, we talked briefly about some of the benefits of play in children as well as adults, and we outlined some different activities that we've enjoyed in the past and now as adults. When it comes to defining play, we all might have our own definition or what it means to you based on your personal experience. So, I'm not here to tell you how to play or that your idea of play is wrong. I'm here just to add to your knowledge. So, in our materials, it talks about Stuart Brown, who wrote the book Play How It Shapes the Brain, Opens the Imagination, and Invigorates the Soul. Stuart Brown is the founder of the National Institute for Play. This is what he thinks about play and his definition based on his research. He talks about how to define play, but that it can be difficult because it means different things to different people. So let's look at what he came up with. There are 7 properties. As we are going through these, I want you to think about your favorite play activity that we already outlined and see if it fits with these properties, okay? Apparently purposeless. So think of this as done for its own sake. This sets play apart from other activities that are more goal directed. When we play, we are not trying to gain anything. We play for the simple sake of playing, which is why there are people that say, perhaps, it's a waste of time. We are not going to get any money out of it. Okay? Voluntary. Voluntary in that it is not required. You are volunteering to do it. So when we play, we were doing so voluntarily. So, as a side note, we try to encourage you to play in this class, but we run up against this quality because as you are required to do certain activities and assignments, of course, right? So, as you go through the class, like I was saying before, you're given opportunities to choose options when it comes to your assignments and how you present your assignment and so forth. So, hopefully, this choice will give you a chance to access the quality of being voluntary to allow you to play in the assignments and activities that you complete for the class. All right, inherent attraction. So you play because it's fun. You feel naturally drawn to this activity. You may not be able to specifically describe or explain what draws you to this activity, but the connection you feel is inborn. It's exciting, it's arousing, it's a cure for boredom all the way around. So again, think of your play as a child and then your play now as an adult in relation to into these 7 properties. So, freedom from time. Think of a time when you were engaged in an activity and lost all sense of time while completing it. The time just completely escaped you. You may have looked up from a painting, perhaps a computer monitor, sports practice, a recording session, or any other activity, and realized that more time had passed than you had actually thought. This is an example of play. We are not thinking about what we have to do next, we are simply just enjoying the moment. Diminished consciousness of self. So, similarly to losing track of time here, some activities are so enthralling that we also lose track of ourselves for a brief period. We are not worried about how we look, if we look awkward or not, smart or goofy. All of those worries simply go away. We are in that zone and not worried about what others think of us us or what it looks like to anyone else. We are just simply enjoying it. Okay, so now we have improvisational potential. We are open to change. We are not locked into a rigid way of doing things. We might be engaged in totally irrelevant stuff, has nothing to do with our normal activities. Therefore, we are opening ourselves up to new behaviors and ideas. The play process is one that allows for improvising. I had a tongue twister there. The play process is one that allows us for improvising and also making changes to the activity if we desire. This is where we see things in a different way. We can have fresh insights and creative ideas, for instance. Exactly, exactly. That's what makes it fun. Okay, so then we have a continuation desire. If we are in true play now, we have the desire to continue doing it. So the pleasure we get out of play drives us to keep doing it. We are going to find ways to do it. What are the things in my life I want to keep doing? When it's over, I love it so much. I want to find time to do it again over and over. Um, this week you're going to be seeing if what you consider play falls under these seven qualities that I just went over. So using these qualities of play, we can begin to decipher between true play and then other activities. So kind of a category, if you will. So some of the activities you may have thought counted as play may not satisfy all of these categories. As far as your discussion goes, you're not having to outline all seven when we ask you to think of the activity that you enjoyed as a child. We want you to relate some of these seven to your activity. And then we have you then link to your adult play personalities, which we'll go over in the next session. So we've decided that play can be valuable, okay? But in Stuart Brown's book, play has more to do about the attitude and motivation than the specific activity. So again, it has to do more with the motivation and the attitude. It's not focused on the activity itself. Remember, we talked about not forcing, I can't tell you what is going to qualify as play for you. That's going to be up for you to decide. And you are connecting it to these different categories that we're talking about. So you could have six people outside playing basketball, for instance, but only one of those six is really, really into the game and not thinking about anything else but the sheer enjoyment of being in that game. So that is true play. But again, that might be for that one person in that group of six. So the important takeaway is that it doesn't have to be all or none, okay? Maybe if we think back to playing a game of tag and maybe a handful of the kids were into playing tag, but then there was the kid that was sort of out standing to the side. Maybe it was just something that they didn't find fun and playful at that moment. So it doesn't have to be an all or a none. Sure, let me go back to the part with number 7. So our continuation desire. So our continuation desire, think about just having the desire to continue doing that activity. Think about the pleasure that that activity drives us to keep doing it. You know, finding ways to continue doing that activity. Does that make sense, Daniela? Okay, I'll move back over and then we can always come back to it. All right, so back as far as the characteristics of play. So it doesn't have to be an all or none, okay? children are more likely to engage in true play at 100%. As adults, while we are playing, we might not find ourselves completely 100% into it, because it can be difficult if we're stressed. As adults, we tend to carry a lot of different obligations, responsibilities, and so forth, equal stress, and so sometimes we might not be 100% into it. In adults, play is commonly blended with other motives having to do with these adult responsibilities. So, for instance, an example, something that I've really enjoyed doing is do it yourself projects at my new to me home, but at the same time, it's fulfilling something else, which is, of course, upgrading and updating my house. So even though I have fun, sometimes I'll find that I'm not completely 100% into it. I'm just doing it to try to get to the end result. And I know when I was redoing my entryway, I shared pictures of the project on our show and tell board in my class section. I know it started out as something that was super fun. I was totally into it. And then at various parts in the project where I would run into obstacles with the wallpaper and so forth, there were parts that became not fun. So sometimes there's not that 100%. So that's why in everyday conversation we tend to talk about children playing and about adults bringing a playful attitude or a playful spirit to their activities. So again, it comes back to all about our attitude and our motivation during that activity. Okay, so you're probably thinking in this class about play, we actually get to play, right? Well, in this course, you are going to get a chance to put out your playful skills into action, okay? So we give you, again, those choices on the weekly challenge projects so you can pick what appeals to you. We encourage you to challenge yourself with new technology when you are doing your creative components of the challenge assignments. So sometimes maybe there's some basic PowerPoint skills, but maybe you want to learn how to add audio, to your PowerPoint presentation, or maybe you don't have a lot of experience with Web 2.0 tools, and we'll get into that a little bit later in the session during the Q&A portion. So maybe you branch out and start using some of the different new to you Web 2.0 tools. So we will also be asking you to apply the concepts you learn to the real world life. Ideally, through having more choices and options in this class, you get to have more fun through your work. That's really what we're striving for, while maintaining that boundary of working within deadline timeframes. So this is the first half of the session. We're going to take a break and come back for the second half of the session. So I just wanted to make sure that we covered the intro and play and why we're here and those 7 properties in the first half, and why play is different for everyone and the beneficial aspect for children and adults as well. The next session we'll be talking about the history of play and those play personalities. So I'm going to revisit the chat box while we take a 15-minute break. I am showing that it is 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for me. So let's take 15 minutes and meet back here at 4:15. And 15 minutes for whatever time zone that you're in. Maybe take a quick break. I am going to take a break as well and get some water, but I am going to revisit the chat box as well. And then we'll go into our second half of the session, everybody. Thanks, guys. You've been great. All right, welcome back, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started with the second half of our session today. We'll let folks trickle back in if they're still on break, and they can just go ahead and join us, depending where we're at. All right, so far we have highlighted some of the benefits of play, and generally in history, play has been only for children. Society has come to tell us that adults don't play, play is unproductive. The notion is that once we reach adulthood, it's time to get serious. So the notion is that once we reach adulthood, we have to take on those responsibilities, those obligations. And so going back to that serious, adults equal serious slide, right? So, and between those personal and professional responsibilities, that there's no time to play. However, I hope that you guys learned and carried over from the last session that play is just as important for us adults as it is for kids. So I want you guys to throw out some answers maybe in the chat box, unless anyone wants to go ahead and hop on the mic. Do you think play is valuable as an adult? Okay, I'm seeing a lot of yeses indeed. So I want to ask you guys, so I'm assuming if you said yes, then you would see value of play in your life right now as an adult. So I would ask you, in what ways? In what ways do you see play as being valuable to you now as an adult? Okay, so I'm seeing creativity elevates creativity, helps my creativity escape, a great stress reliever, more about the escape, a getaway. It's fun, keeps the brain from going into a fog, keeps stress levels down, great stress relief, more on creativity. Exactly. So I want us to head over to our material section and watch the adult play at work, and then type done, recess, something of that nature in the chat box when you're all set. So again, it's the adult play at work. All right, so I see most of you are finishing up, and I apologize if I skip too quickly between chat box and hopping on the mic in between anyone raising their hands. I have to try to tell myself to slow down and remember that you guys are typing sometimes, or getting over to the raising hand feature on your GTT control panel. So I apologize. So Gloria, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, and maybe you can talk to us a little bit, if you're still willing, in regards to how you think play is valuable to you now as an adult. Gloria, can you hear
Um,
me?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can. Thanks so
Okay,
much.
cool. No problem. I can relate it to my job. My previous supervisor was a type A personality and a micromanager, and the tension in my job could be cut with um, um, uh, a knife and it still would not put a dent into it. Unfortunately, he passed away due to stress
Mm,
before the age of 50. My subsequent two supervisors are totally the opposite. We laugh, we joke, and the environment is completely changed. We have people from other parts of the office coming and hanging at our side because they say we have too much fun. So I could tell you that it's totally made a difference, even
mhm.
in our productivity. If we have to stay late, nobody's complaining because it's a more enjoyable environment.
Right, right. And yeah, from the sounds of it, it sounds like you've experienced it firsthand. That's so unfortunate that, your previous supervisor passed and just the amount of, what stress can do to the body, over time, that long-term stress,
Definitely.
Um, so thank you so much for sharing. That's definitely an important lesson for all of us. I appreciate you hopping on the mic.
No problem.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and mute you back. And Joseph, I saw that you had raised your hand, so I'm going to go ahead and try to unmute you. Joseph, can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
Hello?
Hello,
Hi there. I'm going to go ahead and turn up the volume. You're a
can
little
you
on
hear
the
me?
low side. I can hear you.
All right, good deal. Yeah, play is crucial. Whether you're a kid, whether you're an adult, teenager, like I mean, I'm a goofy guy. I sit around all day, joke around with my friends, and have we don't even speak languages to each other sometimes. You know what I'm saying? In real language,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like we laugh nonstop. And it just helps us because half the time we're in a lot of things go on in life. We're down and out.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to find any reason in order to just break free from whatever's just tying us down to and holding us like anchors. Because I mean, what are you gonna do? You can either fall deeper into the quicksand, or you can
Mm-hmm.
climb out and have a good time in it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that's a great point. Gloria talking about the stress and the long-term impact on that, and the metaphor you used with the quicksand as well. Sometimes trying to make the best, in light of a situation, if we can. And I think you mentioned a great thing. Having friends around you that are like-minded and supportive is really beneficial.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Joseph, for hopping on the mic. I'm going to go ahead
Thank
and mute
you.
you back. All right, so our adult play at work video, hopefully most of you have finished it up, and that's just an example of how valuable play can be as an adult. Um, so I want to talk a little bit about what is your play history. So this week, we'll be asking you to look back into your childhood and try to remember the play activities you enjoyed growing up, right? That's the discussion that's due this evening. So for some of you that may be easy, and others maybe you're really going to struggle with thinking back, as far as what you enjoyed growing up. So, some of you may continue to enjoy some of those same activities, maybe in a similar fashion or in the same fashion, depending if you have kids and so forth. So, to understand more about your own play history, we want you to look at your own patterns of play and your play personality that have shaped your current use of play. Now, there's a lot of play in that sentence right there. So, now I just want to mention this section of the material explores three different ideas. They are the types of play, patterns of play, and play personalities. So, for the sake of time, we're going to only discuss the second two. Just as I was mentioning at the start of our session, I'll try to hit on as much as I can in our go to training, but definitely think of it as a supplemental to your playbook reading. So, still refer to that, of course. So, that means it's important, just to make sure you're doing all of the reading, and we have different links and so forth in the playbook. All right, so let's get into the patterns of play. So, um, so I'm hopeful that a lot of you got a chance to read the article about the six types of play. We're going to go through these, and it's helpful to think of your own childhood or children that you're around, and think about, have you ever watched them play? Well, we are going to look at the different patterns of play you might see. So I'm going to describe them briefly. However, the article in our reading does go into a little bit more detail, so it's going to be helpful to revisit that. So attunement play at 3 or 4 months of age. For instance, as mother and baby gaze into each other's eyes, the baby will smile and the mother will automatically respond with a surge of emotion and smile back. This is universal across all cultures around the globe. When attunement occurs, both parent and child experience a joyful union, also known as bonding. So, this experience is the most basic state of play, and it becomes a foundation for the much more complex states of play. Okay, so body play and movement. Infants begin to play to make sense of their bodies very early. So think about squirming, crawling, perhaps putting things in their mouth. These are all ways of discovering their environment. They are all intrinsic behaviors that promote exploration as well as learning. So, for example, the play driven movement of leaping upward is a lesson about gravity as well as one's own body, and it lights up the brain and gets the fireworks going and fosters learning. So movement helps sculpt the brain and ready the player for the unexpected and the unusual. So as children grow, they are still doing this, right? I remember when I worked as a counselor with elementary age kids, I would walk this boy who was 8 from the residential facility to the therapy offices. And so I'll ask you, do you guys think that he walked in a straight line? He's 8 years old. We're walking from one building to the other. Do you think he walked in a straight line? No, exactly. Not a chance. He touched things, he swung around every tree, he zigzagged through the grass. He would skip a step when climbing the stairs, jumping out of the way, perhaps, like when someone would pass, and so forth. So his teachers often yelled at him when he would do that in line, for instance, at school, but I would allow him to make our walk more playful. He could make it his own, and it started our therapy sessions in a really positive way. It really engaged him. Object play. So our curiosity often drives us to pick up and about, think of objects with play. It's an innately fun pattern of play and creates its own states of playfulness. Hands playing with all types of objects or toys and finding ways to use them help brains develop beyond strictly manipulative skills, with play as the driver of this development. There has been a connection found between problem solving and actually manipulating objects. And we talked about problem solving early on, and you guys saw the toy snake video where you could take the snakes apart and you could put them back together in different forms and fashion. So kids that fix things or take things apart and explore uses for them may mean they will be able to more readily solve concept problems when they get into adulthood. All right. So, social play, from the simplest of wrestling of young animals to the most complex banter of close friends. Social play is a key aspect when it comes to play behavior. Children that play together are learning a lot about empathy, setting boundaries, listening, and communication, which are all social skills we carry now into adulthood. Imaginative and pretend play. So, imagination is perhaps the most powerful human ability. It allows us to create made up realities that we can explore without giving up access to the real world. Throughout life, imagination remains a key to emotional resilience and creativity. Children play house or play school. In this pretend play, they can act out what will eventually be real life situations. All right, I see a lot of comments scrolling in the chat box in regards to the slides. Hopefully, you guys are finding my choice of slides entertaining. So, storytelling narrative play, making sense of the world, its parts and one's particular place in it is a central aspect of early development. And as we grow, stories, either ones we're told from our parents or read to us before bed, enliven us and can help us understand ourselves and others. They give us permission to expand our own inner stream of consciousness, enrich our personal narratives with pleasure and fun as our own life stories unfold. Um, for instance, being lost in a story can produce a sense of timelessness, pleasure, and a way that we can try to sense what it would be like to be involved in that storyline. Okay, transformative, integrative, and creative play. So, because play is all about trying on new behaviors, it frees us from our usual pattern of doing things. Children are always in the process of changing and becoming through fantasy play, so it often goes unnoticed. For adults, think about daydreams, perhaps giving rise to new ways of doing business. Fantasies may lead to new love, visualization may lead to a remodeled house or a new invention. Creative play takes our minds to places we have never been. So, I want to test your guys' knowledge. We're going to watch a clip in which we hear two children playing naturally. Now, I like to put the disclaimer out. It is funny context, which you will see. So that way you guys can have a little laugh and a little break after all the concepts that we just covered. But as you're watching, I want you guys to see if you can identify what patterns you notice in their play. So let's head over to our materials section again, and this time we're going to watch the kids snippet cooking video. And when you're done, go ahead and type done or pancakes in the chat box, and we'll come back. All right, I think most folks are finishing up. It's one of my favorite videos of this session that I found. I saw some of you say a little creepy at the same time. I guess it can be. I just look at the fun in it, you know. That would be really hard for me to reenact. Trying to, trying to move to that playful side. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it. So I want to ask you guys, which patterns did you guys notice? So we went over all of the patterns. So seeing, Janice said cooperative play. What any other patterns of play? Cooperative play, imaginative play, voluntary, imaginative play, social. So this is a great example covering all of the patterns that we were reviewing. Let me go ahead and pop up to the hands being raised. And Michael, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Are you there, Michael?
Oh yeah, I think it was a mixture of both because when they were really saying things clearly, it was probably scripted. But like when they started kind of laughing and just kind of making words,
Hmm.
just talking as fast as they could.
Right.
I think that was more the kids, taking control of the situation and following any kind of script.
Yeah, going off script. Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. Good observation. Thanks so much. All right. Gloria, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
actually, I've seen several of these, and they're not scripted. They just let the kids talk. They may give them a
Oh.
topic,
Mm-hmm.
and they let them talk, and they record it, and then they take what they say and have the adult actors do it. There's a lot of them out there, and I found all of them to be hilarious.
Awesome. I'm going to have to do a search and see what other ones I can find. Thank you so much for sharing.
Sure.
Yeah, so some great examples of what we were talking about for sure. All right. So, play personalities. So, I want to move on to talk a little bit about play personalities. Now, no one is a single perfect example of one single play personality type. I always like to throw that out there up front. Most of us are a mix of these categories. So, at different times and in different situations, people might find themselves playing a role that is different than their dominant type. So I want you to think about what your play personality is. So it could be a mixture. Maybe there is that dominant type. So just think about that for a moment, okay? Anthony said a storyteller. Okay, we're going to go through and see. All right, so let's start with the Joker. So, the most basic and extreme player throughout history is the Joker. A Joker's play always revolves around some kind of nonsense. Indeed, nonsense is the first type of human play we all engage in. Think about baby talk when it begins, for instance. Parents make infants laugh by making silly sounds and faces and generally just acting foolish, right? Um, and so later, the class clown finds social acceptance by making other people laugh. Adult jokers carry on that social strategy by maybe perhaps making practical jokes and pranks. All right, the kinestet. So think about people who like to move, who, in the words of Sir Ken Robinson, need to move in order to think. This category would include athletes and people who find themselves happiest perhaps when they're dancing, they're swimming, they're walking. They naturally want to push their bodies and feel the result. They may be those who do football, they do yoga, dance, jumping rope. While kinestets may play games, competition is not the main focus. It is only a forum for engaging, engaging in their favorite activity that they're participating in at that moment. All right, so next up we have the explorer. Each of us started our lives by exploring the world around us. So some people never lose their enthusiasm for that. Exploration becomes their preferred avenue into the alternative universe of play, their way of remaining creative and provoking imagination. Exploring can be physical, literally going to new places sometimes. Alternatively, it can be emotional, such as searching for a new feeling or deepening of the familiar through music, maybe movement, or even flirtation. It can also be mental, so researching a new subject or discovering new experiences and points of view while remaining in your chair. All right, so next up we have the competitor. The competitor is a person who breaks through into the euphoria and creativity of play by enjoying a competitive game with specific rules and enjoys playing to win. He's the terminator, she's the dominator. The competitor loves fighting to be number one. If games and keeping score are your thing, this may be your primary play personality. So the games can be solitary, for instance, maybe a video game, or social, such as in baseball, and they may be actively participated in or observed as a fan. Competitors make themselves known in social groups where the fun comes from being the top person in the group, or in business in which perhaps money or perks serve to keep score. All right, so next up we have the director. Um, Directors enjoy planning and executing scenes and events, though many are unconscious of their motives and style of operating. They love the power, even when they're playing in the B movie league. They are born organizers. At their best, they are the party givers, the instigators of great excursions to the beach, the dynamic center of the social world. At worst, they are manipulators. All the world's a stage, and the rest of us are only players in the director's games. And next up, we have the collector. So think of the thrill of play for for the collector. Um, is to have and to hold the most, the best, and the most interesting collection of objects or perhaps even experiences. So, collectors may enjoy collecting as a solitary activity, or they may find it the focus of an intense social connection, while others who have similar obsessions. Okay, the artist and the creator. So think about joy being found in making things. Um, some things that come to mind are painting, printing, woodworking, pottery, and sculpture. Those are pretty well known activities, but also maybe perhaps furniture making, knitting, maybe sewing. Maybe even gardening are also in their purview. So they may show their creation to the world, or maybe they don't even show it to anybody. So no one would even know that they made it. So the point is to make something or just to make something work. Okay, now we have the storyteller. So the imagination is the key to the kingdom of play here. Novelists, playwrights, cartoonists, and screenwriters, but also those whose greatest joy is reading those novels and watching those movies. So people who make themselves part of the story, who experience the thoughts and emotions of characters in the story. Performers of all sorts are storytellers, creating an imaginative world through dance, through acting, through magic tricks, or even through lectures. Because the realm of the storyteller is in the imagination, they can bring play to almost any activity. So, I want you guys to start thinking about your play personalities. And again, it relates to our discussion that's due this evening. Gloria, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Are you there, Gloria?
I am.
Did you have a question? You had your hand raised?
No, actually, my hand is down on my end, so
Oh, okay. I'm going to go ahead and
I'm
lower it
good.
on this end. Thanks so
Okay,
much.
sure.
All right, so I want to move over to our material section and we're going to watch the clip called Dance Off. I want you guys to focus on what play personalities are present in their routines. And just go ahead and type dance or done in the chat box when you're all set. All right, so it was just a quick 50-second or so clip, but I wanted you guys mostly to use the clip to note what play personalities you saw in the clip. So what were some of the play personalities that stuck out to you guys? All right, the kinestet, competitor, director, storyteller, competitor, joker, director. Yeah, it was a great example. I saw hairdresser, the joker, competitor. Yeah, it's a great example of what we were talking about, and that's mostly what I wanted you guys to pull from the clip. Um, So now let's talk a little bit about play as adults. So play as a concept is often thought of as something that children do, right? We discussed that a little bit earlier in the session. However, the truth is that the elements of play stick with us well into adulthood, as it should. And in his book Play, author and psychiatrist Stuart Brown compares play to oxygen, and I saw that quote earlier in the chat box. He writes, "It's all around us, yet goes mostly unnoticed or unappreciated until it's missing." So this might seem surprising until you consider everything that constitutes play. So play is art, it's books, it's movies, it's music, comedy, flirting, daydreaming. The list goes on and on. So not only can play bring us joy in our adult lives, but it can also reinforce valuable abilities such as problem solving and creative thinking. The research shows us some very valuable benefits of play as adults. So here are some lifelong benefits of play. So, play connects us to others and strengthens our sense of community. It can heal disagreements and emotional wounds and overall improve the quality of our relationships. Play fosters creativity, flexibility, and learning. Play stimulates our imagination, helping us adapt and solve problems. Play arouses curiosity, which leads to discovery and creativity. The components of play: curiosity, discovery, novelty, risk taking, trial and error, games, social etiquette, and other increasingly complex adaptive activities are the same as the components of learning. So, play is an antidote to loneliness, isolation, anxiety, and depression. When we play vigorously, we trigger a mix of endorphins that lift our spirits, right? You guys mentioned endorphins earlier, and distractions that distance us from pain, fear, and other burdens. And when we play with other people, whether they're friends or strangers, we are reminded that we are not alone in this world. We can connect to others in delightful and meaningful ways that banish loneliness. Yes, we mentioned endorphins and the feelings that we get when we're playing and our mood is elevated and we're lifted into joy and happiness. So, play teaches us perseverance. The rewards of learning or mastering a new game teach us that perseverance is worthwhile. Perseverance is a trait necessary to healthy adulthood, and it is learned largely through play. Think of perseverance and think that perseverance and violence are rarely found together. So, play makes us happy. So, beyond all these excellent reasons for playing, there is simply the sheer joy of it. Play is a state of being that is happy and it's joyous. Jumping into and out of the world of play on a daily basis can preserve and nourish our own hearts and the hearts of our communities. And I go back to what Gloria shared about, unfortunately, stress getting to a former supervisor and, death being the ultimate result of that. Just not having that joy, that happiness as far as, in their daily structure, their daily schedule. So, definitely a little play can go a long way. We don't need to play every second of the day to enjoy play's benefits. In his book, Brown calls play a catalyst. A little bit of play, he writes, can go a long way towards boosting our productivity and our overall happiness. Okay, so the opposite of play is not work. Brown explains that the opposite of play is not work. He says that actually the opposite of play is depression. Um, you know, when do we feel our happiest? When there is variety or change? When we are challenged or when we are accomplished. If we are burdened by an overwhelming sense of responsibility, then this brings decreased happiness. But society tells us to be successful. We don't have time for play. We have to hurry up and we have to get there. But I ask you, where are we trying to get to? If we give up play for so long, how will we be able to enjoy whatever goals we are trying to achieve? How will we know when we get there? Or will we just fill our lives with more to do lists, more tasks, and a never ending goal to be bigger, better, and make more money? And will any of the money, bonuses, or good grades matter if our hearts are not into it? Will it matter if we have a constant feeling that something is missing from our lives? So, I want to head over to our materials section and look how we can create and implement play in different types of ways. So, let's watch the clip Never Leave the Playground and type playground or done in the chat box when you're all set. So, we're watching the Never Leave the Playground clip. All right, just another few moments. We have about a dozen folks trying to finish up. All right, I really enjoy that video. Just his ingenuity is just fascinating to me. So everyone's play is different. So some of you may be thinking, no problem there. I feel great. I'm good to go. And some of you may be thinking, well, man, how do I get that feeling back? I want to feel that energy and joy. So let's talk a little bit about how Brown says we can get it back. So it sounds like I'm telling you to go outside, play hopscotch every day, and you'll bring back a sense of play into your life. And I wish that were the case, but there is no one sort of miracle strategy that works for everyone, again, because everyone's play is different. So, Brown gives these suggestions to get you on track to reconnecting to those emotions experienced in true play. So, how can you add play into your life? Here are a few tips from the experts. Change how you think about play. You have to get rid of the guilt or the feeling that you are wasting your time. Remember, it is helping all aspects of your life. So, I want you guys to remember that play is important for all aspects of our lives, including that creativity component and the relationship component. Give yourself permission to play every day. It's okay. Take a play history. Brown suggests you look to your past for play memories. What did you do as a child that excited you? Did you engage in those activities alone or with others, or perhaps both? How can you recreate that today to reconnect with those emotions? Surround yourself with playful people. So, by surrounding yourself with friends and loved ones who are playful, a positive environment supports your sense of play. And we highlighted that earlier in the session, that support network, like minded folks. So, play with pets or little ones. Playing with kids helps us experience the magic of play through their perspective. I'm reminded of that all the time when I play with my nieces. I've got three of them that are under age 5, and it's just amazing. Anytime you think play is a waste, remember that it offers some serious benefits for both you and others. So, as Brown highlights in his book, play is the purest expression of love. So Brown does stress that we don't need to play every second of every day. You only need a little bit of play to boost your joy, to boost your creativity, and to boost your happiness. It really is just a start to get you back on track. By taking the time to play, you help yourself to clear your mind of the clutter, the stress, the negativity, and then you can focus again. So, with a renewed sense of optimism and creativity. All right, so today we looked into your play history to examine the patterns of play and your play personality so you can understand more about what play is really all about and how it can be valuable to you as an adult. So, we also took a look at the overall importance of play and what constitutes as play defined. So, I hope today you guys got a sense of how you can begin to incorporate play into your life depending where you're at with it. And remember, that's another important component. Everybody's at somewhere different. Okay, so as far as the material goes, does anybody have any questions regarding anything that we've covered? I was trying to honestly scroll back in the chat box, and I love how active you guys are. So I honestly might have missed something. So if you're good, then great, Gloria. Thanks. If any questions come up after the session, please don't hesitate to reach out to your individual instructors. And make sure to connect with them regarding your questions. Okay, so here is there's no attendance link because it's voluntary to come. If you missed any part of the session, then we'll go ahead and post those archives out either on the community board, or your instructor might send them out in a message on FSO or email them out. So there is no attendance session. Um, or link, I'm sorry, not attendance session, but attendance isn't mandatory for the session. So this is the aspect of the go-to training where I like to tell you all that if you're set, you understand the instructions and what's expected of you for your assignments this week, please don't hesitate to head out, enjoy the rest of your afternoon or evening, depending where you are. I am going to hang out for a few moments and go over some of the platform and then bring up some of our challenge project options and go over that. So again, if you are good, you don't have to hang out to go over that. It's not mandatory. Please don't feel that it is. If you would like to, please hang out. And if you need to dip out and listen to that part of the recording when it comes out tomorrow, please feel free. I don't want to hold anybody after the time. Everything is available between the platform. We have supplemental videos for you, and then all of the reading in your module, and then the links, the outside internet links, the web links that are included in your playbook includes everything that I've gone over today and then more. Okay, so my view as an instructor might look a little bit different than yours as a student. So I just want to put that disclaimer out ahead of time in case something looks a little bit different, okay? So here are your activities for the getting started portion. So hopefully you've all navigated to your playbook as well as troubleshooting. You've jotted down your instructor's Dropbox information in case it comes time to submit an activity and you run into any technical issues. If you haven't, please head over to your Getting Started section and take a look at what resources we have put up for you there. Okay, here is a screenshot of your week one or level one activities. So tonight is Wednesday. Your most important days of the week are going to be Wednesdays and Sundays in this course. Wednesday evening tonight, you have your initial discussion post due. And just for week one, we have a library assignment for you. We want to make sure that you can get over to the library and navigate appropriately because that's going to be an important resource in upcoming courses. So we always like to highlight that this month. So make sure that you get that library assignment in this evening and make that initial discussion post on our board. Okay. Now, Sunday is going to be your deadline, your final deadline for your discussion board post and your response post. If you ever miss the Wednesday initial discussion post, it's no problem. You just want to make sure that you're replying to an additional classmate. Okay. That helps recover the 10 lost late points if you didn't post that initial post on Wednesday. Okay, so that would mean you'd want to do your initial post and at least 2 response posts for Sunday evening. So, Sunday evening, you also have your quiz and you also have your challenge project. A word to the wise I've found in spreading the work out and starting the beginning of the week and getting through what you can is really helpful. Then that way, by the time maybe Friday and Saturday comes, you can dedicate the most time to your challenge project, as that is worth the most weight in the course. That's worth 10%. Okay, so each challenge project is 10%, so that makes up 40% of your grade overall. Okay, so something to keep in mind if you can try to get to your reading earlier on and maybe use your reading to do your brain teaser or your quiz and get that initial discussion post up by Wednesday evening, then that will definitely help alleviate waiting until the weekend. I understand everyone's schedules are different, so you might have to try to fit it in where you can, of course. Okay, so it's kind of an awkward screenshot because I couldn't flip it, but and again, it might look different on your end as a student versus my end as an instructor, and we're all getting to know FSO 3.0 together. But you're going to want to make sure that you're revisiting your grades throughout the course as your instructor goes through and grades all of the different activities. You're going to want to make sure that you're reviewing your grades tab. Okay, so I know most of you are probably well aware of that at this point, but I just always like to highlight it. Okay, so this is a screenshot of the rubric we'll use. You'll find that we'll be using this to grade your challenge projects each week, okay? So you'll notice that there's no comments, but in the lower left-hand portion, there's going to be comments from your instructor. The reason I like to encourage my students to review the rubric is it shows you where you are, okay? So you'll notice the dimensions on the left-hand corner, and then we're always going to try to strive for mastery, okay? In the category. So when you're building your project, you're going to want to make sure that you're hitting concept application, connection, innovation, technical aspects, okay? You will lose points for spelling and grammar. So try to do a spelling and grammar check before you submit your final copy of your presentation. In the lower left-hand corner, this sort of blank white space here, this is where you're going to find your instructor's comments, and we're going to give you comments and feedback, especially if there's an area to grow in, because we want you to grow in that area for the next week and have your presentation be eligible for that many more points, okay, if it's applicable. Okay, something that came up in my class that I just wanted to share with everybody in case you weren't getting a timely response. I try to be very timely with my responses to my students. So what had happened was someone had made a comment on an activity and it did not notify me that I had a message because I technically didn't have a message. It was a comment on an activity. So until your instructor goes into each activity and looks at all of the different comments, and as you know, we have a lot of activities, they might not see your comment as fast. So a faster way to get a question or concern to your instructor outside of emailing them directly would to be that use the message function on FSO. So if you go to the message function, you can directly message your instructor. And for me personally, I have that set up to ding in my email. So not only will that message highlight for me on FSO, but it will also send a separate message to my email, and I have it set up that way. So if you have used the comment feature and you haven't gotten a timely response, that might be why. And again, it's just something that came about in the last 24 to 48 hours for myself. So I wanted to share that in our session today, since again, we're getting used to the new FSO, just like you guys are. So I really try to encourage you to use the message feature if you're not going to use direct email. Definitely feel free to contact your instructor on the phone, Megan. I would highlight their office hours. Whenever their open office hours are, they're more apt to be near their phone. A lot of times you'll find, including myself, that I'm available on iChat and I might be somewhere else on campus and just not next to my work phone. But during our office hours, we try to be at our desk next to our work phones. And if that time frame doesn't work for you, that's absolutely fine. Just message or email your instructor or hit them up on iChat and set up like a separate time outside of their office hours, perhaps, to connect with them. Okay. Okay, so when you go and you click on your challenge project for week one, you are going to open the asset folder. Every week we have that challenge option and it's your asset folder. And in week one, you have the Playhouse Rocks and the industry presentation for the assignment options. We have a couple extra things in here for you. We have what programs can you use, and I'll pull that up in a second, and then the README PDF Adobe instructions. If you don't have Adobe, it's something you're going to want to go ahead and download. What's going to happen is it's going to open up to this page for you, and it's going to give you instructions on how to set all of that up. And if you're having any issues navigating through that, please do not hesitate to give FSO support a call and they will help you get that set up. Let's see. Okay, so you picked option 2, and you're just asking if you resubmit the document or make your own. Not quite understanding the question. Maybe I can go ahead and unmute you and you could ask the question. Are you there?
Yeah, when I
Okay.
yeah,
Go ahead. Hi there. How are you?
when hi. I'm good. When I picked option two, it showed like the boxes to put your answers in.
These template
Yeah,
boxes right here?
yeah.
Okay.
So do I do it there and then resubmit the document, or do I make my own?
Nope, the idea behind downloading Adobe is because all of these documents are editable. So you would go ahead and download this. Say for instance you chose Playhouse Rocks just because that's the example on the screen, even if you chose industry presentation. And
Hmm.
all you would do is read through these instructions, and then you would go ahead and you would type in these boxes we've provided. And there should be plenty of room to type because we've made them editable, and on our end, when we get it as the instructor, we can scroll. So go ahead and type your answers in the boxes that we've supplied here. And then if you, on the presentation end, say that you export a video or audio to like YouTube or Vimeo, or you decide to use like a Web 2.0 tool, you can easily go ahead and just copy and paste the link in here as well. And we are going to be looking for everyone to check off these check boxes, because we're also looking for you to use the naming convention as well as compress your file for submission. So I hope that answers your question. You would use this document. You don't need to recreate anything new.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
All right.
And the last part, this is just a screenshot of approved file extensions, a reminder about, oh, I don't see the lynda.com, but lynda.com is a great tutorial. I don't see that on here, but you can feel free to use lynda.com as well for any tutorials, and just a snapshot of that grading rubric again. Now, your instructor's Dropbox information can be found on the portal, and it's going to be under troubleshooting and PYP. You'll notice that my drop it to me link is right here, and my password. You're going to want to go and find that for your individual instructor. Just make note of it. That way, again, if you have any issues with using the platform, as we know, sometimes technical issues show up at the last minute. I just want you all to have that handy, okay? So please don't everyone submit your work to me. Please go and find it for your individual instructor. But I wanted to use mine as an example for you all. Correct. Yes, the Dropbox is only to be used if you cannot upload to FSO for some reason. So make sure that you're trying to upload to FSO well before the deadline. That way, if you run into any technical issues, you can not only contact FSO support, but you can go ahead and upload to your instructor's Dropbox as well. Okay. And I would just send them a message via FSO or shoot them a quick email and let them know that you uploaded there instead of FSO, so they can go and download your work. Plus, if there's any issues downloading your work, they can get back to you right away. Okay, now this is your activity resource list. We had that portion in the assets folder up here, and I'll just navigate back so you can see. It said, what programs can I use? Okay, and that is going to take you to the activity resource list. It's 4 pages. I've screenshot all 4 here just for ease, but these are just suggested. Please don't think of this as an all-inclusive list. If you have another web tool that you want to use, or you've been, it's piqued your curiosity, you've learned about it, please, yeah, Google Slides is fine. Please feel free to use Google Slides, anything that you want to practice with. The reason we want to introduce you to some new tools is because we use these tools in the class as well with some of our videos, etc., and our feedback, but we want you to get acclimated to some new tools so you have options for projects moving forward in your classes as well. So again, we're going to look for you to challenge yourself as well. So if you use PowerPoint in week 1, then maybe it's a new tool for you, and that's fine. But maybe we're looking for you to add some audio come week 2, do something a little bit different, or use a different tool altogether. So we really want you guys to experiment, with a lot of these. In the right hand column, you'll notice there's examples. Okay, the examples are only examples of the tool and what it's capable of doing. They're not necessarily examples from class on the assignments. Okay, because some of you will click on them and you will see my face. They are some examples that I made. So again, it's just about what the tool can do, but we wanted to include some examples so you can see what the tool can do. Now, are there any questions that I can revisit for anyone in regards to what is due this week, or any of the other assets that you can use? And as I was talking, I'm sorry I wasn't able to pay attention to the chat box as well, so I'm not sure if I missed any questions along the way. I was trying to do my best. Okay. Can you? Yes, definitely. Please add your own art to your presentation. I would love if you did that. Um, Again, I know with my students, I really try to encourage you to choose the assignments that really interest you the most, but then maybe try to work the assignments to where you can utilize tools, your own artwork, your own music, your own choreography, anything that you're passionate about to help build your portfolio as well. I really want you guys to be able to use as much as you can when it comes to, your industry and getting jobs. So please don't shy back from using personal artwork. I would say if you're not using personal artwork, even if you are, you might want to notate it. So, for instance, if you're doing a presentation, just as I down here in the bottom left hand corner have notated, you're going to only want to use commercial. Commercial prints. So if you go to like Flickr or something like that, make sure that you're choosing the commercial option, and then you're going to want to cite your images. And if they're your own personal images, maybe include that at the end of your presentation or something of the like. Sure. As far as the assignments due tonight, you have your initial discussion post, okay, on the week one board. And then you also have your library assignment due this evening. Come Sunday, you will have your brain teaser quiz, your response post to your peers on your week one discussion board where you made your initial post, and you'll have your challenge project. The library assignment this evening is only a week one activity. Your main deadlines or days that you want to be concerned with are Wednesdays and Sundays. Wednesdays being your discussion, and Sundays being your brain teaser and your challenge project. Now, a helpful tip that I usually share with my students is if you go in on Wednesday to make your initial post and there are already folks in there that have made their initial post, you're already in there. Why not make your response post? And then that way you can check your discussion post completely off your list and move towards just focusing on your quiz and your challenge project. So if you can, I would suggest that you do that. That way you don't forget about that response post because it's a big chunk of the discussion board grade. You would find the PDF by navigating on your platform, and I'll go back up. You'll navigate on your platform to your activities tab. And again, my instructor view may look a little bit different than the student view, so my apologies if it does. But under level one, you're going to go down here to level 1.4, the challenge, and you'll go over here to the right and you'll see a similar drop down button, and you should be able to go ahead and download the folder there, and that's where you will find the two PDF options this week that you'll use to put your answers on. You will find the instructions for Adobe and then the resource activity list, the suggested programs. Awesome. I can explain it. Is the second option I'm not sure which one comes first and which one comes second. Is the second option the industry project? Okay, the industry presentation. Perfect. Yeah, let me go. I don't have it pulled up. The industry presentation is going to be similar to the template. You're going to do the same thing in that you'll go through the instructions. and you will use the actual PDF in order to type your responses in the box. So the instructions might be a little bit, they'll be a little bit different, of course, since it's a different assignment, but you will do the same thing in that you'll be using the template here in order to type your answers. And with the industry presentation, a lot of times, when it comes to including a link, if you've created a video, for instance, like in QuickTime or some other form, a lot of my students have exported that to Vimeo or YouTube. So what they do is they include the Vimeo or YouTube link on the actual template, and then that way I can just go ahead and grab that. Does that help explain the industry project, or do we need to? We can always revisit it a bit more. Okay, awesome. If any other questions, if you find that there's more specific questions with it, definitely don't hesitate to reach out to your instructor. Next week, we should have Monica Clayton hitting the mic with you all, followed by Erica Sickles in week 3, and then Terrence Washington will be heading up the facilitation in week 4. Thanks so much for coming out today, guys. Have a great rest of your day. I appreciate your time. Take care.